You know, loneliness is solved by a biblical marriage as initiated by God. In other words, the first disease on earth was loneliness. You know, God, He created and He kept saying every day, He said, it is good. It is good. Then one day He said, it is not good. What was not good? For a man to be alone. And psychologists and psychiatrists will tell us it's a serious disease. And you are told the solution to it is not medicine. The solution to it is to have a good marriage. And people in a good marriage do not suffer from loneliness. That's why I tell husbands to be aware that you can say, oh, I look at that girl so well. But you know, she cannot look at her as well. These women are even sometimes more than men. The only job nobody can replace is ensuring she is not lonely. Yet studies are showing us that married women are more lonely than single girls. Are you hearing me? You see why? Because a lot of men are dog in a manger. Ever heard of that saying? You know, dog in a manger. Dog in a manger means the manger is where cows eat food. And the dog is sitting there. Every time a cow tries to come, ho, ho, and frightens the cow away. It will not eat the food, and it will not allow cows to eat the food. And you know, cow food is not dog food. Are we together? So a lot of men are like that. They will not allow the wife to talk to the girls. You are married. Why go? Why do you keep going to other women? They will not even allow her to see her mother. But at home, you will not talk to her. So they are dog in a manger. Because surely, if you can't talk to her, why don't you allow her to talk to her mother? It's very important to understand. But however, the critical message here is that the most important responsibility of a husband is to ensure the wife is not lonely. The most important responsibility of a wife is to ensure the husband is not lonely. What? The fact that you bought her car is not that you are not there. She can buy for herself. The thing that you must make sure is sorted out is a disease called, and that's why you are giving so much priority to it. So in order to check, and my wife will be talking in a short while, I'm just about to finish. We have to find a way of becoming more brief than we intended. So I want to give the assignment, which you not do just now, you will do after my wife has talked. I want you to assess your own marriage, whether you have had it. For us, it's about 44 years. For Bishop, it's about 37 years. And for somebody else, it's 3 days. Okay, nobody has had 3 days. There was no wedding in the middle of the week. It could be 1 week. Because on Saturdays, there are people who got married. It doesn't matter the length. Rebecca and I also need to be on a self-improvement trajectory. So they are there. So I want to suggest 6 quality checks on your marriage. 6 quality checks on your marriage. The first one is spiritual oneness. A good marriage has spiritual oneness. So we read the Bible says, then the man said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, shall be called woman, for she has been taken away from man. In other words, there is oneness that says, this is now bone of my bone. Let me say 3 things about spiritual oneness. Number 1, spiritual oneness means you believe the same God. You can't have spiritual oneness when one is worshiping a cow, another one is worshiping God. So if that is the truth, that your husband worships something other than Jehovah, you are at the 0 level. in terms of quality speaking. So to be scored at the highest, you must speak. God, our God, is the same God. And that there is nothing else my spouse watches other than Jehovah. Number 2, you are in total agreement of all major doctrines. You cannot claim to have spiritual oneness when one is speaking in tongues of angels, the other one says you are mad. Now, it's not, number 2 is not as important as number 1, but it's still important that we are disagreeing on the work of the Holy Spirit today. Oneness cannot be rated at the highest level. Am I clear? We are talking about how to measure the quality of your marriage, spiritual oneness. So first of all, you are agreed on one God. Number 2, you are agreed on all major doctrines of the scriptures. You cannot claim to have oneness when some of you believe it is important to be born again. The other one says, but I was baptized. I was even confirmed. You are not having spiritual oneness because you are disagreeing on critical doctrines. You have no spiritual oneness if some people think Christ is a prophet and the other one knows that Christ is part of the Godhead. These are critical issues. So you must ask, me and my spouse, are we really agreed on all major doctrines? Are we agreed? There are some that are neither here nor there. You know, some people believe that to worship properly you must jump 3 feet, and others believe you should be on your floor. Now, those are not critical. Those kind of doctrines are not critical. You can allow your wife to jump her. If you can't jump, don't stop her. Now, those are not issues that they should be worried about. But they are issues that are important for you to talk about spiritual oneness. Very, very, very important to understand. So that is critical to find out, is there a major doctrine you are not agreed on? Next, we are seeing on spiritual oneness. We need to understand, do you have family altar regularly and voluntarily? Or one of the spouses has to be woken up because he's dozing every time you mention the word altar and he starts dozing. Earlier he was very active, then he is now dozing. You can't talk of having spiritual oneness when you are not both attracted by the desire to pray together, to worship together, to learn God's word together. I think you will not hear and talk about having spiritual oneness. And finally, you don't have spiritual oneness if you belong to 2 different congregations. One goes to all saints, the other one goes to all men. Now, you need to be agreed in fellowship. You need to belong to the same fellowship. Please understand, when you come to grade yourself, we are not suggesting that if you are weak in one of them, the grade is terrible. But if you are weak in all of those, please give yourself a 0. And that is not negative. 0 means we have work to do. Am I communicating? So from this meeting, you start working on those things I've listed, isn't it? So don't feel negative that I'm at 0. Get excited, at least I'm 0 and I'm not dying today. Now, you have time to improve. And that will be a critical thing that we need to talk about. So now, I'm going slower than I thought. But let me tell you the next thing. So spiritual oneness is the first check, quality check. The second quality check is a common family vision and mission. A common family vision and mission. You know, when it says in Genesis 2:24, that is why a man leaves his mother and father and is united to his wife and they become one flesh. In other words, they don't come from the same history. You came from your mother and father, I came from my mother and father, but we have a common destiny. We don't have a common history, but we have a common destiny. And you need to check, my marriage, do we really have a common destiny? Do we have a common vision and mission. I normally tell young people, I talk a lot to young people. I tell them, if you take a girl, you take another sister for a date, then as you are talking, she starts telling you how she is looking for a green card. And you, God has called you to be a missionary in Saudi Arabia. The message is clear. Your missions are not together. So, one date is already one too many. Don't give her another date. Let her go to America. Are we together? Because if you can't be married and go different directions. So the most important, a lot of young people waste their time because they talk a lot of sweet nothings. The one you want to find out is, what is this boy's idea of success? How can he say what success is? If your definition of success and his are not agreed, drop him as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, the people I'm talking about, you are not allowed to drop. So that is when I'm talking with young people. Are we together? It is too late. Now for you is to work on it. Are we together? But it's important to understand, if you are married, that can have commonality of vision and mission. Put it differently. If you are married, does not have a common success description, you will be pulling in different directions. I mean, in marriages, people are suffering. They are both hardworking, going different directions. So they are pulling each other to different directions. You can't talk about a good marriage when you are pulling to different directions. And you need to ask yourself, how can I measure my marriage when I'm looking at my marriage in that common vision and mission? Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9 and 12 says, two are better than one. Why? They have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? All that is emphasizing the importance of commonality of vision and mission. And so I want to ask you, do you even have a vision anyway? What vision? Vision is a noun. It's a description of what you have achieved by the time you die. That's vision. What will you have achieved by the time you die? I've written a book called Discovering Your Life Purpose. And I give an assignment to my mentees, asking them to give me about 7 speeches describing what they have achieved by the age of 80. Now I need to take it to Japan since I don't have many years to 80. But the point is, if you are 20 and you're not going to 80, it looks like forever, isn't it? So I want you to picture your 80th birthday. 80th birthday. What do you hear people say you have accomplished? The first speech to be written is you are writing for your spouse to read. You are writing at the age of 25 to be read by your wife at the age of when you are at the age of 80. But you are writing it now. Why do you write it now? Because you have another 55 years or something to make it through. And your wife is saved. She can't read nonsense. So you must live your life such that when she reads it, she is in agreement. Although she is not the one who wrote it. Are we together? So if you are really going to have a common vision and mission, you must write it now. So that it's clear, what are you here? So what do you hear your spouse says? My spouse, today is the birthday of my spouse. I just want to tell you the impact she has had on my life. Before I married her, I was very short-tempered. But somehow he has worked on me until my temper is now longer. It's no longer? See, the fruit of the Spirit is long suffering, which means suffering long without complaining. Now, if you write that statement in your birthday speech, it means whoever you marry, however short your temper, your mission is to lay them. Am I communicating? That's why you write it now, so you know the kind of job you work. For the pastor to be willing to read that at the end. Oh, today is the birthday of my husband. I just want to tell you the kind of impact he has had on me. I no longer feel a sense of insecurity. He makes me feel as long as he's around, all my problems are taken care of. He is the source of my security. If you are going to write that down, you better be available. Don't come in the middle of the night. Come early now. I'm not coming again. And by the way, we are not joking. We are talking about, I'm hoping you'll do the assignment. Because if we agree, the aim of this thing is to be on a continuous improvement, isn't it? So even if I feel something that's not happening in my life, some of the things I'm saying are not yet in my life, but I still have a number of years told me. So I'm intending to continue working on them. So don't feel bad that you are not there. Thank God you have time to continue working on it. And it's very, very, very important. We are still talking about commonality, vision. Vision, I told you, is a description of the accomplishment by the time you die. That vision. Speech number 2 is to be written by your children. And remember, if you are 80, your son is 55 and is a grandfather. So you are a great grandfather. And because he is a grandfather, he cannot read nonsense. So you better write exactly the kind of impact you hope to make on your children. Although you only have one who is only 1 year old, you have the next 54 years to make it happen. Are we together? What do you hear your son say? And remember, one son will read on behalf of all the children, or one daughter. What do you hear them say? Oh, yeah, I just want you to know today is the birthday of my father. And I just want to tell you who he is to me. Whenever I have trouble elsewhere, I know I can run to my father. His love is unconditional. I have annoyed him, he still loves me. When I'm in trouble everywhere, I know I can go to my father, and even if I'm messy, he always loves me. His love is unconditional. Do you know that? If that is part of your vision, you have a lot of work to do, isn't it? Say when you have a teenage son who is already very difficult. I'm not communicating. So listen to the voice of the Spirit and don't write what Nana is saying. What you hear God tell you are supposed to bring up your children to be. Write it down so that by the time you are 80, they can actually say you accomplished. That's the second speech. The last speech is to be written by a cousin. In other words, we are not talking about the impact you make on two grandfather's children or grandchildren. Because by that time, your grandfather's children are all dead. So you are talking about your grandfathers. And I'm not asking to go very far in your clan. Just your mother's father and your, from both sides, the husband and the wife. Look at the cousins. These are people you read, people you know, isn't it? And if you grew up in the village, you grew with them, isn't it? Surely, you cannot expect that God expects you to make no impact. That you are going to preach in Saudi Arabia before you have sorted out your clan. Your vision to recruit your clan. Are we together? Yes. So what do you hear them saying? What impact are you making in your clan? Those are how many speeches now? 3. The 4th speech, we now start moving away from the immediate family, is to be written by a church representative. Somebody who knows your testimony from the time you are a young man. He will be saying, he was also be like you. And you will say, you know, we were in Ghana in the university in 1974. And I can tell you what his spiritual impact has been. I don't think I have enough time to share all of it. But he has made impact. And 1, 2, 3. What do you hear God tell you is the spiritual impact you make? Either in evangelism or discipleship. What do you hear God telling you achieve? So by the time you are 80, you can be talking about your spiritual impact in God's kingdom. Those are how many speeches now? 4. And we have now started moving out. Speech number 5 will be written by a community leader. Somebody who is your neighbor, somebody who knows you. This is not your relative. Because God expects you to be making your Jerusalem very different. And we're not talking about your relatives. What kind of community? Or are you the guy who in the security meeting never pays? So you ask somebody to read a speech and then he says, I can't read that. The truth is you have been difficult. I work for Shell and happen to be currently the chairman of the Shell Pension Association. And the other day we met and we wanted to help somebody. Somebody help that one? When he worked, he never helped anybody. Say, no, you don't do like that. But remember, these are not Christians. They start telling you, you can go with your Christianity, help if you want. But we as a community, but we need to set policy. He says that you never appear in our village. He's a difficult guy. He has never helped anybody. And you know, we are not young. To be retired means you're over 6 years. Some are created. I wouldn't want that about me. So you need to ask yourself, what speech do you hear from a community leader? Those are now 5, isn't it? Number 6, which is important, is now a testimony or talk from your professional colleagues. Professional colleagues. People who talk about, this guy earned a lot of money, yes. But don't worry about the money. Think about how he changed the lives of nations. How, or you just want to earn money? Are you trying to make a difference? You are an engineer, civil engineer. Are you the one which are created to making a road where people die regularly? Because you made a car that was unreasonable. Are you getting my point? He should be saying on that day, he should say, this guy, today you don't realize, but he's the one who made that road, and that road, and that road, and that road, and all those roads. 30 years later, are still helping this nation. Would you want to talk like that? Then you have to work on it now. And you must write a program that will let you there. The final speech will be written by only a few people. People who make international impact. In other words, you look for somebody to fly in from New York to talk about the impact you have made all over the world. No, some of us are not supposed to make impact just in Kenya. You're supposed to make impact worldwide, isn't it? If you feel that is God, remember, all these we are writing under the Spirit of God in prayer. If you hear God is calling you to make impact out in Kenya, write it now. But some will fly in for your birthday, and you'll be talking about the impact you made. If you summarize that in a sentence, you look at all of them, which sentence can summarize that impact? That is what we call a vision statement. Once you write it, the next thing to write is a mission statement. And I won't take time now talking about mission. Mission statement is a verb. You remember, vision is a noun. What has happened? Mission is a verb. What you will do to make it happen. And you need to say, don't just write a nice vision without mission. It's simply a nice, it's a dream. But you need to write a mission. What do you do? Then that way, you need to write core values. What are core values? Core values are non-negotiable convictions. In other words, I'm willing to fail in life if to succeed means I break this rule. Am I communicating? If, for example, my value is sexual purity, and the boss who is helping me to succeed insists on breaking that one, I'm willing to be fired rather than break my heart. Core value means non-negotiable. Means you are willing to suffer rather than break your values. Do you even know what are your values? You need to write them down now. So for the rest of the time, values create boundaries within which you travel to your vision. They are the boundaries within which you travel. You are not willing to go over there. This is the only place I can pass. I would rather fail and to succeed rather than break them. So I think that it will be very important as a couple to do that. However, since we are talking about commonality of vision, the assignment is the wife to write hers separately, the husband to write hers separately, then you come together and look for a family vision that tries to incorporate what the wife says and what the husband Say, you don't write it together until you have written the separate ones. Because you see, if the wife is more talkative, she might overrule the husband. So, first of all, write fully yours, the other one write fully yours. Then you now work out, how are we going to end up with a family common vision, mission, and core values? Now, back to your assignment. If you don't even have clarity of what the vision is, you are at zero. Am I communicating? If you have it, but you are not progressing towards it, you have a 2. To give yourself the top marks, you not only must be clear about your vision, mission, and core values, but you must be practicing them already. Are we together? So that will be something that will be important for you to ask, is that what you are doing or not? And at what level are you? The next checklist is friendship. Friendship. Remember, you're talking about the quality of your marriage. It can be measured by how good you are in your friendship. You know, we read again in Genesis 2:18, the Lord God saying, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. Then Ephesians chapter 5 says, submit to one another out of reverence of Christ. Wives, submit to your husband as to the Lord. And then it goes on to say, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives to submit to their husbands in everything. And then it goes on to say, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. The Romans 12 says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, the husband or the wife, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, it is mine to revenge, I will repay, says the Lord. You know, this is one of the most important of the quality checks. Because we read it in the beginning, it was in my introduction. The reason for marriage is to remove loneliness. Friendship and loneliness are inversely proportional. That's what we call it in mathematics. In other words, when this goes down, the other goes up. If the more friendly you are, the less the loneliness. Am I right? So you need to understand, and I think in the introduction, the major reason for marriage is companionship and removal of loneliness. So if you are measuring the quality of your marriage, you must ask yourself very, very clearly, can I really say we have friends as spouse? The trouble with the friendship is that it is voluntary. You can't tell me, you must be my friend. What's wrong with you? I'm married. No, you can tell her, I'm your wife, I'm your husband. You can do it in a marriage certificate. Am I right? But friendship, unfortunately, is voluntary. Am I communicating? Rebecca can try all her best to be friendly, but unless I'm willing, we will remain husband and wife, but not friends. So it's a very difficult thing. This is one of the most difficult of the quality things. Because it's voluntary. And not only is it voluntary, my brother, the power is used with your wife. Not only is it a difficult thing, you need to understand is the power is used to the person you want to be friend. Because you can choose to agree or you can do your best, buy her the best dress, buy her, I don't know what else she likes, just buy her. But the friendship is not developing. Am I communicating? So it's a difficult thing, it requires God's help. But be honest, are you really friends? Can you really say you are friends? Let me tell you something else about that is difficult about friendship. It is not permanent. So that although yesterday you are very friendly, today you will be enemies. Is that true? You know you wish, some of us say, have you told your wife I love you? But I told her on the wedding day that you need to understand. It doesn't matter how friendly last week was. When you are measuring yourself, are we friends? Not yesterday, but now. So, and the trouble of the fact is not permanent. It means continuous work. We wish you could do 10 years. Then for us who are in our 40s, it's now automatic. I can be Rebecca's friend automatically. No. Friendship is not automatic. Friendship is hard work. And it means you continuously. If you used to buy her Madasi, we are not buying Madasi, but at least I used to buy her, wasn't a meat pie. Now, that was before you got married. Now at least I can afford more. But when did I last buy her? A meat pie. You know, lots of people buy until I'm married. So you say, have you bought your wife a meat pie? But she is married. Now you need to understand. People talk about courtship before marriage. They don't talk about courtship in marriage. There will never be a good marriage if you are talking about how you quoted the history. In the last 2 weeks, what have you done to befriend your spouse? Maybe you like chapati. When do you make chapatis? What are you doing to improve on the friendship? That's really what you need to be checking. And it will be very, very important to ask yourself, am I checking? And the more you know your spouse, the more you know what that triggers for friendship. Am I right? You should be working on them. Sometimes my husband and I are counseling a couple, and they look so opposed to each other. We call saying, sure, were they ever friends? No, I was in a men's meeting and they say, men, women are difficult. Brother, you are talking about friendly. They are impossible. Now I say, but how did you win her in the first place? You married her. Was it by force? Use the same tricks used them to return their friendship. Because men are really, I've been speaking to men's meeting in the recent past, men are really worried about you women. You are just impossible. Not difficult, but so they say, man, you can keep recommending to be friendly, but who is there to be friend? They are like a spoon. They never respond. Now, so it's important to understand, but you need to make it different. What is the level of friendship that you are really experiencing? So all we are saying is that this particular policy area requires a lot of investment, especially in time, which is actually scarce. The solution for loneliness is friendship, yet it is difficult. So, measure yourself. Three items you need to look at in that friendship. Number one, when she annoyed you last time, how long did it take to reconcile? Because annoying you does not mean you are not friends. It just means you are two different things. So do not imagine by friendship means you don't annoy each other. It means when you annoy each other, number one, you give what is called you give an excuse. You start doing a benefit of doubt. Ever heard of that animal? Benefit of doubt means that my wife has come late, very late. And I'm still waiting. Then you start feeling my temperature boiling. Then I remember, he is my friend. There's no way she could come late deliberately. If I even start to get worried, might there be an accident? By the time I'm thinking that, am I really annoyed? I'm insane, but isn't. Of course, when she finally arrives and I discover she had no excuse, I can now get annoyed properly. But why would you waste your annoyance? You might be boiling. Then she arrives and says, you were just about to kill me. Who? Now, you wasted your annoyance. So friendship allows you to give benefit of doubt. And you need to find out. People who are your enemies, you will never give them the benefit of, I know, you wanted to kill me, I know that. How do you know? I know you. That's not a friend. Number two, check very clearly. Do you miss them? Do you miss them? I've written a book on friendship, and I quote a people who say, Dogone Makinya, friendship is missing one another. In other words, you can prove you are not friends when you realize your most enjoyable time is with the boys. And if you are asked to go for a trip, you are very happy. You need to understand. You need to understand that that idea of not missing your spouse is a trigger that shows you friendship is not dead, but it's dying. Am I communicating? So it was, do you miss them? Put it in a harder language. Can you take a decision that costs a lot of money just to be with her? In other words, everybody will say, that's foolishness. How do you use that kind of money? What's wrong with you? When will you ever save? But you see, for you, being friends with your spouse is so critical, you are ready to pay for it. Am I communicating? So, mixing each other, desiring with one another, is a sign of real good friends. Thirdly, I'll come back to it, but let me mention it here. Inability to keep secrets. Your friends, you always share with them, isn't it? As you know, with your enemies, you wonder, you give information on need basis. That's what we say in management. Only release on need basis. So if you are actually giving your spouse information on need basis, the truth is, your friendship is not there, but it is. And you need to ask yourself, is that something you are doing or not? And how far are you as you measure the. Now, the next thing I've already mentioned is transparency. The next quality check is transparency. And I've already mentioned it. You know, but Genesis 2 verse 24 says, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Then verse 25 says, Adam and his wife were both naked, underlying, and they felt no shame. You are embarrassed about your spouse. That's not a good marriage. At all. The only person who can be naked before you have no embarrassment, you have no explanation to give, is your spouse. All other people you must be covered, unless you are a non-Christian. Christians cover themselves properly, isn't it? Even when they dress, they ensure all vital parts are properly covered. But if you are still covering them in the bedroom, it is a problem. Serious, not a small problem, a serious problem. And you need to ask yourself, do you find it risky to be exposed to your spouse? If you do, you are not in a good marriage. But you are in a marriage, there is a marriage certificate, but you are not in a good marriage. So it's important to ask yourself, how transparent are we? Or are you a Christian couple intending to enrich and claim financial assets authority? Have you heard of that animal? Do you know the bank are enjoying that money all the time until a friend of mine, he's a young man, very young. He told me one day, he cannot allow the bank to continue with his money. So what are you going to do? I'm going to campaign in parliamentarians until we make a law to force the banks to give the money. 3 days they come and use it, not the banks. You know what, the young man was joking. Finally became the first chairman of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Now he has started off. Just a young man. I don't need to report the head. That's only easy. Now you know what you write about. They write about that in the young man when you say that. Make impact nationally. But Financial Assets Authority is not, Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority was not located there for Christians. It's for non-Christians. Because you see, they have several wives, some hidden. Now, so they cannot allow this one to know, because they will say, but what happened to that? So the husband is the only one who knows his asset list. Even the children cannot know. It's too risky. Then unfortunately he died without notice. Now, I'm not going to my friend, as you sit here, if you have a single shilling that your spouse knows nothing about, my friend, your marriage is not dead. But it is. Because, let's admit it, the truth is, this transparency the Bible is talking about is too vulnerable, too risky. So, very few of us are willing to take that risk. But once you are in love with somebody, then you are willing to take. So let me ask, how can you make sure you are transparency, the quality of your transparency? Number one, is there something you are guilty of in history, but you have never told them? So one of these days it's going to bump on all your marriages. And I said, you are the one who married Atieno. Oh, I hope he told you that she was my girlfriend when you were in 35. So you come, and you have to come up and say, do you know a guy called Okiko? Yeah, Okiko was in my village. What was your relationship? How come you remember? You don't have a good marriage. If Okiko is unmentioned, so the first thing you check, transparency means as far as you can. Give the story. In fact, before we got married, my wife and I had a date just to share. The question was, she comes from Eastern Province, I come from Nyandarua. We don't know each other, the families are far apart. So I thought we should have a date when we don't talk with nothing. We just discuss. What about John? That is so bad, if I were Rebecca, I'll be hesitant to marry him. You see on the minnows. So we went. Now it's not possible. Where now Hara was in the 1970s. Used to be a place high up and you could see the yacht. Those of you who are over 60 can remember it. Now it's a dirty place, but it was a beautiful yacht club where now Hara is really is above Kibera. Kibera then was where towards for Jesus. So he went there and sat there watching them, telling her, you know, when I was in Form 3, this happened to me. Give my medical history, isn't it? So one of these days, if I stop breathing, she can remember that in Form 3, I had bronchitis. I said a long time ago. But you see, doctors expect the wife to know medical history, am I right? But only if I'm willing to take the risk. Because if I marry, you might die within a year. Am I communicating? That's what you mean to be a Christian marriage. You have given all things that are negative about what will stop you marrying you. Have you ever, what are their secrets? They are too dangerous to share. My friend, mark your transparency level at one. Not above that. And then ask God for freedom to take the risk. Because for sure, the day you tell him, he might move you out of the house. So it's a risk. But because the Lord expects you to share, tell him, God, I leave the consequences to you. I'm going to obey. If he throws me out, I'll land in your hands. Am I communicating? But you know what actually happens? The moment you take the risk, you are not tired. There is no way I know that information. This guy trusts me. For him to tell me that, he trusts me. We are really in love. What happened to the relationship? That is a step higher. Just like the day you discover someone behind you, it will destroy your friendship. Am I right? The choices, and choices have consequences. We are talking about how to make sure the quality of your marriage. So you need to ask yourself, is there something in this room? Is there a relationship? For example, your grandmother was a witch, and it's a top secret. You don't want to be associated with witches. So you never tell her. One day she's walking and says, oh, you're the one who married Gilbert. Has he ever told you that the top witch in the village was a grandmother? So You come home and say, hiya. You have never told me you have some connection with the spirit world. Wow. Am I communicating? We don't like talking negatively about ourselves. But with your spouse, you must be naked and feel no shame. That's why I told you, even for Rebecca and I, we are not at the top level on these matters. But the reason I'm giving you the standard is that we all seek God's help to move towards it. Are we together? So don't feel guilty because you are not been there. Feel guilty if you are not working it. And it will be important that we deal with that. I think it will be an important issue to deal with. The next one is what we call permanence of marriage. In other words, 1 Corinthians 7 says in verse 19, a woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives. That's verse 39. 1 Corinthians 7 39. A woman is bound to her husband as long as he lives. So ask yourself, do you intend to be that married for life? Or are you starting to prepare for separation? Just in case. Now, if that is what you are doing, the quality of your marriage is suspect. A good marriage is where it does not matter the kind of problem that come, you intend to stay there. The only thing that can make you survive is if the guy is threatening to kill you. It's not right, it's not difficult to commit suicide. So if you know he told you, I will kill you tomorrow, please leave. My sister, leave. Am I communicating? If she says that he intends to put poison tomorrow, don't eat food. Leave. But other than that, disagreement should never make you leave your home until death do us part. And to be very, very, I've written a book, Long-Term View of Marriage, about divorce. And I say, despite trying to look through the scriptures, I don't see any excuse that allows you to leave. I agree, your husband is alive. But then for the Lord to have allocated the land to you, it's because he gave you domestication skills. Am I communicating? Yeah. If any other woman was given that land, she would have been eaten. But for you, you have special skills. Am I communicating? So it's important to ask yourself, do you have that attitude that everything you do is wrong term? And that you do not, there are people, they say, be careful, I'm mad to you, but by the time my gray hair comes, I will have moved away. Do you know there are women who keep threatening to leave? Any woman who threatens to leave, that marriage is at zero level. There should never be threats to leave. It's always threats to do better. Because it's not your choice. The scriptures are saying you are bound. That's the Bible itself saying. So you can only leave your husband or your way to hell. Am I getting the point? So by the time you leave her, you also decide to leave the Lord. Am I communicating? If you intend to stay in the Lord, and you stay with that woman, although she is a lioness, and ask for special domestication. There was a lady at Aka's post in Isiolo. What was the name of the woman who had domesticated the lions? What is? I can't remember what it was called. But it was Bishop and I were still alive when that woman was there. She used to be the newspaper. And she was killed by one of our workers. You remember? Joy Adams. The name Joy Adams. Can you imagine if he had domesticated the lions and she was playing with them like dogs? So it's important to understand God can give you the ability instead of running away from your marriage. However, as I tell this man not to leave you because he has to stay, he's bound to you. Please remember, if you are the one giving God's child a hard time, and even you'll be telling me, brother, I don't need to stay. No, you need to understand, if you are the one causing difficulties in your marriage, you are a candidate for hell. Am I communicating? You cannot agree to be the one winning problem in your marriage. And you can't do it in Jesus' name. Am I communicating? You must be, the other person can be difficult, but you choose not to be difficult. So if you are listening to me, don't go saying, but you are told to stay. No. Where are you staying? In hell? It's very important to ask yourself, how am I operating this? And this is a very important check. The acceptance of permanence in marriage. The final check is financial oneness. Financial oneness. The man said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Matthew 19, verse 5 and 6. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one. Therefore, what God has joined together, there's no man. You know, money is no money on you. So once you're united as a couple, even your money is united. My friend, measure financial oneness. Let me repeat it. Until your pockets are married, you are not yet married properly. That's why I was quoted saying, you can't have a rich wife and a poor husband. They are either equally rich or equally poor. That's what marriage is all about. And if up to now you are not planning a common economy, you don't have a Christian marriage. So how one are you? How one are you? You know, some say, you look after this item and I look at this item. Then inflation affects my items. Like, for example, it says the wife is the one to look after food. Then Ruto increases the cost of food. So you say, no more meat in the house. But since it does not affect the inflation of the husband, says, I must eat meat every. That's a bad word. You should have common inflation. I'm not communicating. So anyway, I have taken longer, but now I'm finishing. So we have 6 items, which during the break, the first, you sit separately and score yourself. Then after she has scored and he has scored, you sit together and start showing each other the scores. And the scores don't have to agree, because the views are different. Like the views of the guy, he doesn't know he's difficult. So he thinks it's a wonderful marriage. So you write 4 marks. Then the wife will give 0 marks. You are not that bad. How can you write such? No, it's not clear, right? We are better than this. So pick each item and give a score of 1 to 5. Where you are succeeding most, give a 5. Where you are not succeeding at all, give a 1. Are we together? For example, spiritual oneness. Is it a 5? Is it a 1? For most, I doubt it can be a 5. A 5 means, I don't need God's help. I'm already there. So I don't expect you to give yourself a 5. However, you are not allowed to give yourself a 3. Because a 3 is a way of running away from the score. Because 3 means, I'm not bad and I'm not. So you are only allowed to give either a 1 or a 2, or a 4 and a 5. Not a 3. And remember, you are not measuring yourself, you are measuring the two of you. So you are talking about marriage, isn't it? Yes. So you are saying oneness. You can't be one to nobody. Now, even if you are trying to be one, the other guy is not available. You still be rated low, isn't it? Yes. So the first thing is to rate. The second thing is to give a reason why you have rated. It's not good to tell your husband that you are a 0 without a reason. So before the meeting starts, tell him why you have rated whatever you have rated. If you have rated a 4, give evidence that you are actually operating at a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons why our marriage is at 4 on this particular item. If you are putting a 1 or a 2, say, You remember this and this and this? Shows you we are at one. Write down. Don't just think it in the head. Write down why you are putting a score that way. Remember exercise number 1? You rate separately. Exercise number 2, you write reasons separately. You are still not together. For any item rated below agree, give reasons as to why. Then number 2, what can you do to improve it? You are still writing on your own. You are telling your husband, if only you start smiling to me when you are at home, I'll raise the higher. You must recommend what needs to be done. But before you recommend what you do, write what I myself will, what you do, in order to improve it. So start with what you can do yourself, then finally, what your spouse can do to improve it. You are fine. Then, for anything above agree, thank you very much, means you are doing well. But tell me, what are the reasons as to why you have rated above agree? Then next, why you have done, what have you done to get such a high level? Blow your own trumpet. We are doing very well spiritual oneness. Why? I cannot allow you to forget the family altar. Give yourself credit. See, you are not just the two of you. That's why I'm not allowing you to be in a group or a group. So you can say, our spiritual oneness, credit is me. Write it down clearly. 2 or 3 reasons why you believe you are rated very high. What have you done to get the rating so high? Next, what has your spouse done to get it so high? Give credit to your spouse. It takes 2 to tango, isn't it? So be clear, my husband. When I quarrel you and you keep quiet, it allows me to go down. I must thank you for agreeing not to quarrel back. Now,